Earthquake and the city of Port Royal, 1962. 17th century life in Port Royal, Jamaica came to a massive halt when a 7.7 magnitude earthquake shook the city, leaving it sunk underneath the ocean, killing over 3,000 people. An earthquake is one of nature's most feared disasters, and according to NASA's Science Space website, it defines an earthquake as an intense shaking of the Earth's surface. So, for today's speech, I will be talking about Port Royal and what happened the day earthquake struck. I will be going over earthquakes and the mechanics involved with them. And lastly, how these earthquakes can be devastating to people that are involved in them. Growing up on an island, we learned a lot about history from our country, from our ancestors. These stories are passed on to us, and then we turn out and carry the certain traditions and cultures. I remember hearing about the wicked city of Port Royal from my grandmother many, many years ago when I was a child. I was told that pirates would come to the island and trade, steal, and sell, and that part of the island was a very wicked place. Some would say that it was because of the things that would happen there was the reason why that caused them to perish. But after doing my research, I can say that it was clearly superstition back then, and they could never in any way know about this geographical disaster that was about to befall them. NASA Science and Space website says that beneath the Earth's crust there are four layers. There is a solid crust, a mantle, a liquid outer core, and a solid inner core. On top of the Earth's crust is what we call a lithosphere. It is actually like a giant puzzle, and pieces make up what we call tectonic plates. The outer surface of our planet may look like one solid shell, but according to theory of plate tectonics, this outer layer is called a lithosphere. It is actually broken down into massive, rigid slabs called tectonic plates that fit together like puzzle pieces, floating around on a thick molten layer of the mantle called an asthenosphere. These plates slide around in slow motion, traveling up to 6 inches per year. When the energy from an earthquake travels, it vibrates, and these vibrations are called seismic waves. Scientists measure these waves and gather information about the earthquake, giving us its time, location, and intensity. According to the Incorporated Research Institute of Seismology, earthquakes occur every day, several hundred times a day. The really big earthquakes measuring a magnitude of 7 happen once a month, and those that measure greater than 8 happen once a year. 17th century life in Port Royal, commonly referred to as the wickedest city on earth, was once a histrionic harbor town on the southern coast of Jamaica. It was once known for the busiest trading center of the British West Indies. In the late 17th century, it came to serve as the base of operations for buccaneers and privateers who raided Spanish islands and ships. But the extravagances of the wealthiest port in the West Indies came to a rapid end at precisely 11:43 a.m. on the 7th of June, 1962, when Port Royal was consumed by an earthquake and two-thirds of the city was sunk underneath the sea. Earthquakes in this region were not uncommon because of their magnitude, but on that morning, three powerful earthquakes struck Jamaica. A very large tsunami hit soon after, covering almost two-thirds of Port Royal under it with force, taking it under with force. Many buildings sank under the ground, and virtually every building in the city was destroyed. Corpses from the cemetery were seen floating around the harbor alongside recent victims that died in this treacherous disaster. Approximately 3,000 people lost their lives that day. After the disaster, a widespread looting began, and thousands more died in the following weeks due to the sickness and injury from the earthquake. Fear and superstition discouraged the survivors from ever rebuilding Port Royal. So instead, the city of Kingston was built, which is now the capital city of Jamaica, and to this day remains the largest city on the island. Mountains, valleys, oceans, only some of the many beautiful creations by Mother Nature. Fear, devastation, mass casualty, and worse, death are things that we do not want to believe can come from such a wonderful creation, but they do. Earthquakes, one of nature's most feared natural disasters, has affected almost every single continent around the world. Port Royal, only one of the many cities affected by this monster, did not stand a chance on that morning of June 7, 1962. It took the lives of thousands of people, proving that it was in charge that day. My friends, earthquakes are very dangerous, and they don't give us any warning when they come. We can try to prepare for these natural disasters, but the truth of the matter is, are we ever ready when they come? Thank you.
With this, I thought, well,